How we doing today, Bears fans? Welcome back to the Bears Focus podcast with the audio version here for your listening pleasures. It's your boy Collin with Sterling once again. Sterling, how are we doing today, brother?
I feel like every time you ask me that question, there's some nonsense ahead of it. Every time you ask that question in that tone and pitch, you got some nonsense in store for the listeners and myself today. So I really don't know. I really don't know.
That's crazy. A man can't just check in and see like how you doing, how your day going. It gotta be some nonsense, man. Well, hey, let's go ahead and get into the nonsense then. First off, thank everybody for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. Man, make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Y'all can get all the content that we releasing weekly. Good stuff. Make sure y'all tuning in, man. First thing on the discussion board, man, we had some big news this week. A couple big moves, right? Steelers, they traded George Pickens to the Cowboys for a third-round pick and then a swap the following season. What does that mean, one, for the Cowboys? And then we'll get into the Steelers and what that means for them and the moves that they still have to make. So tell me what you think that means for the Cowboys.
Well, I mean, for the Cowboys, they're trying to give Dak everything that they can to be successful this upcoming season. Jerry Jones doesn't have much time left. Let's just start there. All right, he does.
What are you saying there? What does that mean?
Hey, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. But Jerry Jones is looking to win a championship, right? Something that they haven't done since Jesus Christ. So he's trying to get that offense weaponized to a point where Dak can have everything that he needs to be successful. Now, there's still a question in the backfield, right? You got a running back there named Javonte Williams, right, who should do pretty okay. But again, Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys, they believe in the offensive line side of the football. For them to be successful, it starts with the offensive line and then their playmakers on defense. A lot is going to be riding on Dak coming off a major injury, but the more weapons that he has, it should help him ease into that offense and ease back into a flow of things. Again, I think the additional wide receiver for Dak is to take some of that pressure off of him. He is your franchise quarterback. This is the person that you want going forward. And again, is going to help the Cowboys remain explosive and then also ease Dak back into being the QB of the Dallas Cowboys while trying to score points in a crazy division.
Man, I look at this a few different ways, right? One, obviously, like you said, they're trying to help Dak out, give him some weapons, make that offense formidable again. Running back, that is going to be a question. I think Javonte Williams did pretty good with the Broncos last season. But with the Cowboys and the offensive line that they're building, hopefully it's much improved. I don't think it will be, but they should be able to run the ball. They got, I think, Miles Sanders on the roster too at running back. They drafted Jaden Blue. So they got some people back there in that backfield to help Dak out to where he ain't trying to pass it 50 and 60 times a game. CD gonna be able to do big things now with him running a lot of the underneath routes, most likely, because we know what Pickens does. He's gonna go deep. He's gonna run a post. He's trying to go far, right? And Dak gonna like that. Dak is going to try and get him the ball, but the backlash of that, or the possible side effects, right, of having Pickens. Now I'm getting into the Steelers part of it.
Well, hold on. Before you transition to the Steelers part of it, do you think it's possible, and I just mean the possibility here, do you think it's possible that Pickens is an insurance policy to CeeDee Lamb because he's rehabbing an injury this offseason? I'm just saying, you know how these owners get. You know how these owners get. You know how these players get. Are they saying, hey, we got to rehab? I mean, we have an insurance policy just in case CeeDee Lamb doesn't come back to be the CeeDee Lamb that we all know and love.
Listen, he 88, right? We know what that 88 means for the Cowboys.
So, do we?
Nah. That's not an insurance policy for CD. George Pickens got let go or traded by the Steelers because he was a problem child, right? Whoa. We've seen time and time again.
Didn't they draft him, though?
Do. You said what?
Didn't they draft him?
They also drafted Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant.
Elite. Antonio Brown, elite.
Antonio Brown, Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Hall of Famer, top five. Top five.
For sure, top 5 receiver. But we saw what happened there. Before he really went off the rails, they let him go. And the same thing seems to be playing out with Pickens, right? We've seen all the fines. We've seen Mike Tomlin have to call him out publicly, and that's not good. The Steelers are not the organization that likes to deal with people that cause problems. If you can't be a part of the program, you got to go. And so they got him out of there. So I think that this could backfire possibly for the Cowboys, right? He's trying to get paid. Is he going to get in line, show that he's a useful part of the team without causing any trouble or distractions or anything like that? I hope so. Now, I got to put it out there. I got to put myself on blast. I was one of the people that thought that the Bears should have taken George Pickens.
Oh, were you now?
I was. I was one of those people. And I am going to say now I'm glad that they did not. I was wrong in that, right? I think he would have been good, but I don't think he would have been good enough with all the problems and trouble he caused. Ryan Poles would have let him go also, right? Ryan Poles seems like he's trying to run the organization in a way that team first, egos to the side, we trying to win games here. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's a bad move at all. I think it's going to help the team, but it's just about weighing the good versus the bad. And I hope that with Pickens, his good outweighs any of the bad. Now, for the Steelers, man, like, they still really don't have a quarterback. Obviously, they got DK. They traded for him. They signed him to an extension.
Yeah.
The writing was kind of on the wall for Pickens there when they did that. But who's going to be throwing him the ball? Is it Will Howard?
Maybe.
Are they still looking to sign Rodgers?
He's out there with the Dolphins. Very well could be.
Man, I'm just curious now what the Steelers do. Where do they go? They kind of weaken their offense. I don't know, man. It's a little strange. It's a little strange. Maybe they have faith in Will Howard. Rodgers is going to come there. Maybe
I think Rodgers is coming.
Somebody else.
I think
Rodgers is coming.
Rodgers is definitely coming because I don't think he wants to go out like that. But again, you know, when it's necessary for him to be there, Rodgers will show up. You know, Bears Focus podcast, all things Bears Focus. The year the Bears drafted, or the year Pickens got drafted, who did the Bears select? Do you know? Do you remember who the Bears selected instead of George Pickens?
I think it was Kyler Gordon, if I'm not mistaken.
Good guess. It wasn't Gordon, but it was Brisker. Right, from Penn State, our starting safety. Now, when you're looking back at that and you think about pros, cons, you look at, hey, could we have had an explosive, dynamic wide receiver on offense, or did we do the right move and get him Pickens? Did we do the right move and get him Brisker as safety? I think, and that staff really, really liked their decision with Brisker going there because right now Pickens is already on the move to his second team, not even through his first contract. So that in itself speaks volume. But then on the other side of it, Brisker. It's kind of a make or break season for you going into your starting position, potentially as safety, where we could be looking to make a change later down the road. As far as Pickens, this is an opportunity for Pickens to show that he is a team player. He's going to be one of the biggest markets ever. If he produces, he will be beloved, and he will get that ball because we know Dak and that offense and that Cowboys offense, you need 2, maybe even 3 dynamic receivers. If they could block and protect Dak, he's going to get that ball out and on time to his receivers. Ask CeeDee Lamb, as he was one of the leading wide receivers in terms of yardage last season. So much to be enthused by when it comes to Pickens and the Steelers trade, but I think that just opens it up for Aaron Rodgers to eventually come back to the Steelers, bringing over one of his favorites, Allen Lazard, via a trade. He'll be coming to the Steelers as well, too, giving Rodgers, one of his key comfortable pieces for his last season. Now, Rodgers has to understand he's not going to have autonomy like he has had over other rosters, right? He's not getting that here. This is Mike Tomlin's team. You work for him now, right? I don't know if Aaron Rodgers has ever seen the movie American Gangster. I don't know if you have either, but there's a lot of similarities between that and that movie, between Tomlin and one of the main protagonists and characters in that movie. I'll let you do your research and you tell me what you think.
I don't think so, but I see where you're going with it. I see where you're going.
So you got to kind of fall in line there. And if Rodgers, this will be a good chance for him to not only compete, but if he competes and wins in a tough division, that may give him an extra year on to what he wants to do. But a 40-year-old quarterback leading your team coming off a second year of an Achilles tear, tough. But Rodgers, if anybody can do it with his elite arm talent, he can, and get the Steelers back to Super Bowl contention. And Bears fans, Bears Nation, if the Steelers want to come off J.J. Watt, Ryan Poles is ready to wheel and deal, give us that call first. We'll definitely take Watt off your hands.
I don't think Watt is going to be an option. He's retiring a Steeler, as he should. But there is another AFC North defensive end that the Bears will look at that we'll get into later, and we'll talk about that for sure. But keeping up with just the news around the league, man, Derek Carr, he retired. Shoulder is out of there. He had to go, man. So
what was the report on Derek Carr's shoulder? What was that report that came out from Adam Schefter? What did he call it? Degenerative rotator cuff? Yeah. Yikes. You know,
that's rough.
That's interesting because Derek Carr came out a couple of weeks ago, approximately maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago when the draft was going on. And I think he was giving a sermon at a church and he said, well, why are the naysayers, right? Why are these people saying that I can't play football? I'm not ready to go. 3 weeks ago, he was ready. He was fine. And now after the draft, he's retiring. I just don't like the feel and look of that. I don't know if that was a stick it to the organization or not for, how they dealt with him in his last couple of years. I mean, you don't think of the New Orleans Saints as that type of organization because of a class act like Drew Brees being their franchise quarterback who has led them for many years, even to a Super Bowl after a horrific event. You think about just class and a level of respect associated with the New Orleans Saints organization, but then you got this Derek Carr situation. It seems a little funny to me.
Man, I don't know if it seems funny, but we kind of track back to when he was with the Raiders, right? And they traded him. There were whispers about his injury being worse than they were letting out.
Of course.
He got to the Saints that first season. What happened? He hurt. He missed a lot of the season. And now here we are. He's retiring. So
out of nowhere. Retiring out of nowhere.
I mean, it's kind of not out of nowhere because they already were reporting that he's probably going to miss the season. He was most likely going to miss the season.
See, but that's what they were reporting. But he was saying that, hey, he's going to be available, and it's a bunch of false narratives.
Well, it doesn't seem like the team lied. He's going to miss the season. It doesn't seem like the team lied. He was still going to miss the season, man. But I think it's just now one or two things. You can look at this one or two ways, right? And I choose to look at it the first way. Saints are tanking this season. They're trying to go get Arch Manning. Or
that's a bold. Hey, wait, that's a bold prediction that you got.
Think so.
That you just said. I mean,
I don't think so.
Can you provide a little bit of perspective of why you're saying that in terms of the New Orleans Saints organization specifically? Because I would have thought they would have went out a quarterback by the name of Shedeur Sanders, and they passed on them this year's draft.
Well, yeah, they had their chance and they didn't. So,
but you're telling me they're going to go after Arch Manning.
Listen,
Sanders, Manning, can you talk about it?
Oh, we could talk about it. Look, just to lay a couple things out and continue that thought. They don't have a real quarterback. Well, not to say they don't have a real quarterback. They don't have a proven quarterback right now on their roster. Taysom Hill, their do-it-all guy. They really never gave him a shot at quarterback. So he's most likely not going to be that. Tyler Shuck, however you say his name.
Yeah.
The rookie they drafted.
Yeah.
He had one of the worst passes I've ever seen in a combine, that clip that was going around. I don't know how. I don't know. But I don't think he's going to be anything. Spencer Rattler, I think, is on the roster. Desmond Ridder. Nothing that I at all feel confident about going into a season like, yeah, we're going to at least win 50% of our games.
You didn't like Spencer Rattler last year? He had a nice little game where he threw about 400 yards,
Yeah, that's okay.
He's an SEC guy.
Yeah, that's okay. But he's not what they're looking for, right? Kellen Moore coming in, a lot of people look at him as, he's pretty good as an offensive coordinator. He did good when he was in Dallas as the OC and then went to Philly and did good. They just won the Super Bowl with him as their OC. So I think they're going to let him go ahead and, hey, see what you can do this year. Put your program in, build it in. We're going to lose some games this season. We're going to get Arch Manning, right? His granddad, Archie Manning of New Orleans Saints fame. I think continuing that legacy, the Saints are really going to be happy with that. I think that, one, we got to see how he does this season, right, in Texas, being the starter now. I think that's the way to go, man. I think that's the way they're going to go. They have no other path to really get in and establish or a quarterback that they believe in. Their cap is always screwed up. I don't know how they're still signing players. It's been since Drew Brees was there in like 2009. I don't know how they are still signing players, but they've been doing it. like you said, world-class organization. But that's what I see happening for him, man. Respect to Derek Carr, get healthy. I always thought he was a really good quarterback. I always thought he was very underrated. So, sucks to see him go out like that.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't. It's Derek Carr. Derek Carr was
It's not
great.
His brother. He's not his brother.
I know it's not his brother, but it's just Derek Carr, and he has starting capabilities. He was a formidable quarterback in his time. I'm not saying he's Dan Orlovsky or anybody. He's still Derek Carr, and he definitely knows how to play the position. I think one of the best things that he did was his command when he was up under the ball, getting people to jump off sides or just calling in plays. Just the way he communicated and his control and command of being a field general. He had that component of the QB. He really mastered that in his later years, and it really helped them win some games and stay competitive. I like Derek Carr in Houston, but after he left Houston, I can't really say I kept up with his career. It does suck to see Derek Carr go out, especially the way he's going out with a degenerative rotator cuff. Even on his last play of his NFL career, potentially. He was fighting for extra yards, diving head first for a first down, came down on that shoulder, and then it hasn't been the same since. I don't know if that's the way he wants to go out. I think he could potentially still make an impact to a team. If it's not starting, he still has a wealth of knowledge that he can share to make sure a starting QB like a Caleb Williams, like a Jaden McDaniels, a guy of that caliber has the knowledge that they need and someone that they know they can trust to come in and fulfill the role for them. So,
are you advocating for the Bears to sign Derek Carr?
No.
As a veteran?
No.
As a locker room presence?
No, we have Case Keenum. So there's no need for us to do that. I think Keenum will come in. He'll give his knowledge. He has always given his knowledge. Case Keenum, I'll put him in that Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of guy era where he can come in. He can win you some games. He's a gunslinger. And he can throw the rock, and he can win you some games.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, dog, or Fitzmagic, as they used to say. I think you're forgetting about how he was balling out there with Buffalo and the Jets and the Dolphins.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. He can come in and win you some games and with your starting quarterback. Now, I'll say if he gets past 6 to 7 games and you still got a Fitzmagic at the helm, maybe it starts to ticker down a little bit. But if you just need, I just need my QB, give us a chance. Let my QB get healthy. Of course, Keenum or Fitzpatrick was very great in that position. But, Derek Carr, much respect to him. Hopefully he does well in retirement and he doesn't leave the game completely. Now, is a lot more going on. There was a report that came out. Let's go with the report from Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico says that Caleb Williams will be a top 10 QB this season. 1, do you think that is accurate? And 2, if that is accurate, will he be an MVP candidate? What are your thoughts?
A lot of people are expecting Caleb Williams to be in contention for MVP this season. You look at the moves that the Bears made, bringing in Ben Johnson, what they did on the offensive line with Tooney, Dahlman, Jackson, Trapilo coming in, most likely going to be our left tackle.
Hey, that Trapilo guy.
Weapons they got in the draft. Loveland, Burden, right? So, and the weapons we already got with Cole Kmet, Adunze, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, right? So a lot of people are looking at this like, yo, Caleb Williams, you got no excuses, brother. No excuses for taking a bunch of sacks. No excuses for not being able to successfully lead the team. You got ballers out there. And we have a line that should be able to protect you much, much better than the line last season. So will he be in MVP conversations? I don't know. Right? I don't know. I don't want to put that out there yet, but I will say he should most definitely become the Bears' first 4,000 yards. That's without a doubt. This should be the season that he does it. I'll go on record and say that. That's it. That's as far as I'm going to go with it. I don't know about MVP. If he gets to leading the team to maybe first place in the division, then we're going to have to talk about it. Then I definitely think the conversation's there. But with the schedule coming out next week, we'll put those predictions and things out, but definitely at least a 1,000-yard passer, finally, for the Chicago Bears.
Interesting. I think there's a lot contingent on Caleb Williams here having a breakout season or even an MVP season, right? the excuse factor that Bears Nation, Bears fans are bringing up in relation to Caleb Williams that he shouldn't have. Let's see, right? Pads haven't came on yet. We're still in minicap. We're looking at the additions that this team has made, but those pieces still have to fit together holistically. We have not seen that yet translate on the field with rookies and veterans together. Once we start to see that build out a little more, then let's make an ultimate judgment on this team and how it comes together. Now, as far as how it looks on paper, phenomenal. We have a phenomenal team constructed, but how that will come together, we have no clue. All right, second thing, if Caleb Williams does have a breakout season, right, it could be attributed to all of the factors that he has surrounded around him. A good defense, explosive wide receivers, a running back that can carry the ball. You got a line that can protect. Caleb Williams himself is getting the ball out of his hand on time, right? When he's extending plays, he's not extending to run for his life, but he's extending to throw the ball downfield to an open wide receiver. I think in that terms of his game on the offensive side of the ball, and in terms of extending the plays, not looking to run, but still pass the ball, he showed a good amount of awareness doing that last season. I think this season, more so, he's going to be looking to do that because I think he's going to have more open wide receivers. But it just doesn't fall on Caleb Williams. There's a lot of factors that go into this. One, we play in a tough division. Right? Are Bears
toughest in the league?
You can argue. Are the Bears going to take that next step as a team? Right? If we as a team could move up in our own division, that moves Caleb Williams up in that discussion in terms of MVP. And then aside from that, you got to think about the other QBs that can be considered for MVP before we even think Caleb Williams. Right? Have you heard of a guy named Patrick Mahomes? What about Josh Allen? What about Lamar? MVP? What about Lamar Jackson?
They call him Marvelous.
What about Joe Burrow?
Hey,
Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, I love Hurts, right? What about those quarterbacks? And then on top of those quarterbacks, you got to think about those non-quarterbacks that still will make an impact throughout the season. Have you heard of Saquon Barkley? Okay. He looks to be pretty good. The president likes him. Have you heard of Jamar Chase? I mean, he's a number one wide receiver. He could potentially make an impact being the Triple Crown winner last season. Have you heard of a guy named Myles Garrett? These are all potential players that can make an impact. Thinking about that and then just thinking about the Bears as a whole and then where Caleb Williams ranked, yeah, he could be top 10. But for him to actually win MVP and really be at the helm, the Bears team is going to have to take a jump, having over 10 wins, and he's going to have 10 or less interceptions while breaking and crushing the Bears record for passing in the season. If he can't be around 4,000, he has to be 5,000 and pushing, right? It's possible, but that's what he's going to need to get that attention. And I think there's another thing for us to consider here that I don't even know if you consider. Narrative is everything, right? Narrative is everything. If you can control the narrative, you can almost control the outcome. That's what they say. Ask LeBron. Now, a good narrative here with the Bears and Caleb Williams would be, what if the Chicago Sky are winning at the same time the Bears are winning? Angel Reese is having a good season the same time Caleb Williams is having a good season. You want to talk about attention. You want to talk about eyes. You want to talk about two rising superstars in their sport. Just hear me out here. In their sport, rising up and doing good things. If the Chicago Sky make the playoffs, the Bears make the playoffs, there's no way that narrative can't be written to be highly considered that Caleb Williams is your NFL MVP. Winning affects everybody. And that affects all of our sports teams across all sectors. That could bleed over to hockey, hopefully to basketball, and hopefully to other things. So again, narrative. Sky win, Bears win, Blackhawks win, Cubs win, even the White Sox win. You talk about driving and changing culture with narrative and just winning players.
Yeah, I don't know about that narrative at all, especially bringing up Angel Reese in the Sky, which we're going to get into for sure in a minute. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like you said, we both expecting, or we both definitely think that, you got to at least break some Bears records for you to be considered an MVP.
If he gets
that in itself will be a huge help.
30 or more touchdowns, he's going to be in the MVP discussion, and he's not going to be 10. 5,000, 30 or more touchdowns, he will be in the MVP discussion, and he's not going to be 10. You can guarantee that.
Yeah, you're right. Now, keeping it with the Bears, man, we know that this weekend was rookie mini camp. We ain't going to go too deep into it, but give me some quick hit thoughts on anything that you've seen, that you've heard from the mini camps and how things been going there.
I've heard that this mini camp has been tough. I heard that Eric Bieniemy is a phenomenal coach. I heard that Antoine Randall is getting the wide receivers in order. I heard that Ben Johnson is a fiery level competitor and coach. I've heard that the culture there at Hallis Hall is phenomenal and people are having a good time with this coaching staff. That's what I've heard. Now, what I've seen is Trapilo. Oh my goodness.
Talk to him.
He might be starting sooner than later, Bears fans. And again, Braxton Jones, I've been an advocate for you. But when we drafted this Nephilim of a human being, we have to expect that he's going to make an impact on this team somewhere, somehow, and very quickly. So again, rehab, come back stronger, be ready to compete. It's looking good. Shamar Thompson Turner, he's looking to shape out to be good. He already looks like he's starting to transform his physical output for what they want him to be this season. He's going to be in that defensive tackle spot, which leads me to believe that somebody is going to be sliding out. And we'll get into that maybe later in this episode or a later episode. But that is going to be a very interesting and quick interior gap position he's looking to play. In terms of Burton, they say got a dog, stud, quick, fast, physical. And I like his mentality. I like that he's on record saying, you passed on me, you will pay. I want to see that translate into this football team because we need somebody that's willing to push the lines a little bit in terms of the game just to keep our competitive juices flowing throughout the game because that is what great teams are made of. When you think about some of the greatest teams across all sports, they've always had a line pusher that was still very highly effective at the things that they did. You could maybe consider a Draymond Green. You can maybe consider a Dennis Rodman. You could maybe consider a Bill Cartwright. There's so many people in terms of basketball and across sports that maybe push the lines a little bit, but when they do that, they keep their team engaged and they get the outcome that they need.
Draymond may be more of a line crosser than a line pusher, but
for
that's
you to,
another
for you,
topic there.
Yeah.
But I do like the last two that you brought up, Shamar Turner and our boy Ozzy Trapilo. Listen.
Yeah, Trapilo is going to be crazy.
Y'all know I was excited. I was excited about the pick when I saw it. I would obviously wanted a Will Campbell or something like that, but we got a giant on our offensive line. And hearing Ben Johnson talk about him, talk about how smart he is and how quickly he can pick up the information in the classroom and then translate it out on the field, I am confident in continuing to say that he's going to be our starting left tackle this season. Sorry, Braxton. Injuries suck, but when you get back, you're most likely going to have an uphill battle to get into starting contention.
That's crazy.
Shamar Turner. Every time I see him in front of a microphone or a camera, I feel his energy. It's very infectious. The kid's excited. He's going to work hard. He's going to be a dog out there. I can't wait to see him on that offensive line, man. He's got charisma. He's got the skill. And like you say, he's starting to get bigger. He's putting the weight on. He's out there doing this thing. Who's going to slide down? Like you said, we don't know. We'll definitely get into that at a later date once we talk about these position battles, once training camp really starts. But with it just being the rookie mini camp and them kind of just taking some stuff in the classroom and getting some workouts, man, shout out to Eric Bieniemy, man. We needed a hard-nosed coach that's going to hold players accountable, especially after that debacle of last season. We need somebody that's going to get into them. Hey, you messing up. Do that again. Do it again.
Hey,
we need that.
Don't touch the cones. Don't touch
the cones. Man, I love it, bro. I'm so glad. Man, it's over, I think, today, last day of rookie mini camp. So shout out to all the rookies being there, man. Good for them. Can't wait to see what happens. But even continuing knowing now about those Bears, bro. Nick Chubb has been talked about as a signing at running back. We know Jamal Williams came in for a visit. For Bears fans, man, what would be the preference? Who do we want? We know the history of of Williams and Ben Johnson in Detroit. But we also know how much of a dog Nick Chubb was before he got hurt.
Absolutely.
As a Bears fan.
As a Bears fan?
As a Bears fan, drop down in the comments who you would prefer, number one, between Nick Chubb or Jamal Williams. But then we're going to pose it to you, dog. What would be the option you go with?
Well, All Things Bears Focus podcast, Bears Focus. This is interesting here, right? You got two players here. You got Nick Chubb, age 29. Best season in the NFL, you can say, was 2022. Ironically, that was Jamal Williams' best season as well in 2022. Jamal Williams sits at the age of 30. Interesting thing is you got to look at those offenses both of those running backs were in. One was featured as a main component of the offense. The other one was spotted play, right? Nick Chubb was featured. Jamal Williams, spotted play. Nonetheless, the numbers are crazy when you look at them. Right. For Nick Chubb in 2022, he played 17 games. He had 302 rushing attempts with 25 yards on the ground. He averaged a yard per carry of 5, which is great for a running back. He had 12 tuds. He had 27 receptions for 239 yards with 1 receiving touchdown. He had 1 fumble. And yes, if you are asking or thinking, he did make the Pro Bowl. Now, you look at the opposite side of that. Mind you, these guys both did this within the same season. Jamal Williams, 17 games, rushing attempts, 262 attempts, rushing yards, 1,066. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Still great for a running back. But he had 17 rushing touchdowns. And he had 12 receptions for 73 yards, 0 receiving touchdowns. He had 2 fumbles. Did he make the Pro Bowl? No. But what I want to highlight there is those rushing touchdown attempts, right? You got Chubb at 12, Jamal Williams at 17. If you remember in that season, Jamal Williams playing under Ben Johnson, fans, he was getting that ball at the goal line, and they were going 12 heavy set, and he was the only person in the backfield. He was running it in. If you go back and you just look at his touchdowns, they relied on him to do that. And what was interesting is, do you know what that running back duo was in 2022 for Ben Johnson and that offense?
Remind me who the other running back was they had.
I think it was one that's currently on the Chicago Bears. I mean, I could be wrong. Swift and Jamal Williams were the running back duo in 2022. That could be a candle that could get relit. But I think they're going to wait closer to training camp and make a decision on one of these running backs. They're definitely going to look to bring one in. Bears fans, if you had to have a choice, I say let's go with Jamal Williams because we have running backs on the team that could still do some special things. We got rookies. We have Roschon Johnson. We have Swift. Everyone can't get the ball. Right? When you bring in a guy like Chubb, he's going to be featured in your offense because that's what he does. And when you think about it, you got Swift that needs to touch that ball as well, too. So, Bears fan, I like to reunite it, and it feels so good. All right, we let Chubb pass, right? And then we go with Jamal Williams because we know what we're going to get. Ben Johnson knows what he can use them for, but still use all of the other weapons that we got through the draft and that are just on the team in general.
Okay. So I look at it a little bit differently, right? First thing I look at is cost and effectiveness. They both should be relatively cheap, right? Nick Chubb, especially coming off of 2 consecutive injuries.
Yeah, Nick Chubb had a knee injury, and then he's coming off a foot. Yeah, so this is serious.
Yeah, so I don't think he's really going to be featured anymore. I don't think he's going to be a feature back anymore, right? And then, like you said,
is that disrespectful? Are you being disrespectful?
I don't think so. Well, it depends, right? I think that some running backs, you could say it's disrespectful. But we got to see what Nick Chubb is like, right? Typically, what do they say for running backs? Once you hit 30, you getting out of there. It's about over for you. So, I don't know, man. We got to see how he bounces back. The Jamal Williams one is interesting because when we look at that, you look at what role the team, and obviously different coaching staff, what they tried to have Roschon Johnson be last season. And it seems like they kind of wanted him to be that Jamal Williams type where we get to the goal line, we're going to use you to push it in. He couldn't do it. Now, whether it was just he couldn't do it or the offensive line wasn't good enough, probably a good mix of both.
Yeah.
But I don't think Roschon is really going to be a factor at running back this season. He's probably going to be relegated to special teams. Now, bringing in a Jamal Williams, I think would really help with that goal line, like you said, that 12 heavy, put him on that line, let him get to work and run it in. I think that could be great. All right, I think that could be really good. But then you also got to look at what's already on the roster. They drafted a 7th round guy.
Oh, he's going to touch that ball.
Manangi, I always mess his name up. But I think he can fit that role too. You put him on that goal line, let him get to work, let him put his head down and get across the plane. I think he could do that. So we're definitely going to bring in one of these guys. Will we keep them? It's hard to say. But for my preference,
come on, be honest. It's okay to agree with me.
I'm going Nick Chubb.
You see, you're a knucklehead.
I'm going Nick Chubb, dog.
Oh, that's crazy.
Why? Because I think he should still be cheap. They both should be relatively cheap signings. But I think Nick Chubb will at least give us more upside if he's healthy behind a good offensive line. I think he can do some good things if he can come back healthy. And now if we just have a plethora of talent at running back, well, we go by committee.
If was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. Okay? What are you saying to us? What are you saying to us?
Everything is an if. The same thing we talked about with Caleb Williams. If he does these things, it could be an MVP conversation. If this happens, everything is an if until it happens. So we just got to see what's what.
This is interesting because, again, Nick Chubb wouldn't be featured anymore. Every time we saw Nick Chubb get those numbers, he was a featured running back. Again, we saw Jamal Williams do this in limited capacity. Why wouldn't you go with the trust and proven? You know what you can get in limited reps, right? Because I think that running back position is going to be by committee. Right, we're not going to be just leaning on one guy. Why would we go Nick Chubb, who's used to being the guy, getting it, and then he's not? That could throw off his rhythm. That could throw off his pace. I mean, you could say maybe that keeps him fresh and avoids injury. We don't know, right? But you got more with something proven that you do know than what you don't. And again, Mr. Chubb is coming off of injury. But he does look to be fully rehabbed if you've seen him in the weight room squatting almost 1,000 pounds, which is ridiculous for an athlete. So who knows? You say Chubb, I say Williams. Again, sometimes you got to let the big dogs eat. And if you're going to be, all right, never mind. If you know, you know. All right, if you know, you know.
Man, I wanted you to continue that, man, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing here. So we're going to switch gears now. We done talked about these Bears. We done talked about the NFL. We're going to do something different that we're going to start bringing in, man. Let's talk about this NBA, these NBA playoffs with our last few minutes here and what's been happening.
Bears Focus Plus. All right, let's talk about it.
Let's do it, man. So the second round series have begun. All right. We got Indy and Cleveland. Indy's up, 2-1. We got Minnesota and Golden State. Minnesota just went up 2-1 last night. Then we got New York and Boston. Boston's down 2-1. Very, very interesting there. And then OKC and Denver, man. Again, Denver, I think they're down 2-1. Really looking. Hey, I'm going to put this out here before I even continue. I'm rooting on Russ winning the ring this season, man. I want Russ to win that championship this season.
That's nice.
I'm with Aaron Gordon on that, man.
Wow. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you said that. I'm just not surprised.
But just talking about the NBA, man, what has been the best series so far to you?
Man, it's so many great NBA series that are going on, but the best one within the second round, in just terms of like, hey, you watching the game all the way to the end, you got to go Knicks and Boston. And then right there as a 1B, you got to go Cavs and Pacers, right? Those two series have been wildly entertaining. And I mean, if you want to start with the Cavs and Pacers, you got to look at it. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, the Defensive Player of the Year, and Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. That whole team was constructed under Kenny Atkinson, the NBA Coach of the Year, to win and defeat Boston and go to the NBA Finals. They are on that trajectory right now. Donovan Mitchell has been balling out not only this season, less is actually more in terms of for him and for that team, because when he has done less, this team has been able to produce more, which is one of the things Kenny Atkinson harped on going into the season, that he has to come off of the ball, get his team more involved, and make sure those opportunities are there, and he'll always be able to take over a game. And we've seen them do that within this last game that they played, Cleveland and the Pacers. At the Pacers, I think he had 43 points, that is, and he took over in that fourth quarter. I think on the opposite side for the Pacers, this is not a team you're just going to be able to bully. This is not a team that is shying away from a bully. This is the kind of team that you're going to have to beat. Rick Carlisle has this team well coached. They're young, but they have a good mix of veterans. They're playing defense, and that ball is moving, and that pace is incredible that they play with. You got to give a shout out with the Halliante, with the Halliburton.
I was going to touch on that, man. I got to ask you, what is up with all the Hallie hate going on in the league, man? What is up with that?
I don't know if it's Hallie hate, right? It's interesting that his peers voted him the most overrated basketball player.
How? What the fuck? I don't get it.
I mean, think about this. USA men's basketball Olympic gold medalist. He started off on the Sacramento Kings, got traded, never wanted to leave the Kings, came to the Indiana Pacers, kind of blossomed and took off. He's a guy that when he's on the court, the pace is going to be great. He's going to average at least 10 dimes, right? Think about Trae Young. And this is something that you could agree with or not agree with. You got to start putting Halliburton in that Trae Young realm, right? He is going to get you 10 assists. He's going to shoot some threes, but it's going to be exciting to see this guy play. He is able to do the same thing Trae Young does, but as a bigger guard. Now, you got to think about Halliburton was injured in last year's playoffs. He was hampered by a hamstring injury to an extent, so he really couldn't perform. It looks like he's starting to answer the calls not only to that overrated vote by his peers, but also to his playoff performance last season. So the Hallie hate does need to quiet down, but he still has much to be proven. I think if he pushes or propels his team to the East semifinals, going into the finals, then the Hallie hate needs to be eliminated. What do you think?
I think it should have been eliminated after last season. Like you said, he was injured. Still led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, they lost to Boston, who became the eventual champions, but he got there, right? How can you be overrated when you putting your team in position to win? That just doesn't make sense. It just sounds like a lot of hate to me that is undeserved.
What about that Knicks and Boston series for you? How do you feel that going?
That Knicks-Boston series. Why the fuck? Why are teams shooting so many threes now, bro? It doesn't make sense. When watching the game, and I know that they're being coached and taught to not take twos and not play in the post, and that's the stupidest thing in the world. Now you're jacking up 50, 60 threes a game, getting 10 of them, and you're losing. That's so stupid. When the three is not falling, start running plays, all right? I think that, and this is a lot of the reason on why I don't watch the NBA for like the first half of the regular season. It's just no point, right? Terrible play now because nobody knows how to run plays. You look at some of these coaches, it's like the coaches don't know how to draw up plays anymore.
So you're saying a lot of these NBA coaches and NBA teams are playing accidental basketball?
I don't know if it's that they let too many nerds influence what they're doing and telling them, well, stop shooting the twos because three is bigger than two. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense. All right.
Watching the NBA playoffs lets and reminds us all how fake the NBA season really is, because this is real basketball that you want to see. If you had a chance to watch that Golden State Minnesota game
last night,
no threes were, I think, made in the first half. That was a very low-scoring game, very physical, very draining, very tiring. It lets you know, hey, this is what real basketball should feel like and the type of intensity that you want in a game. But again, entertainment, you have to save it for when viewership can be as highest, and that is the NBA playoff.
Viewership could be high if teams played like this all season, right?
Hey, and they need it.
I think that the league is starting to go back that way. They're starting to learn and see that, hey, people don't like what we've been doing. Yeah, the high scoring stuff was cool for a while, but people actually want to see some defense out there. People want to see some hard-nosed ballers actually going to the cup, not sitting doing step back threes 16 times a game. We don't care about that stuff, all right? Young kids might, but guys like us, we grew up watching Kobe's, watching the KGs, the Dirks, Zach Randolphs, guys working in the post.
Hey,
I don't want to see all
hey,
these
you forgot one.
threes being shot up.
You forgot one. You can't say all of those and not forget one of the ones. Carmelo Anthony. I mean, come
You're
on.
right. One of the greatest scorers ever. You're right.
Get a bucket on your
favorite
from the player's favorite player.
Crazy post work, crazy footwork. Could get down there. He's going to drop 50 on your head with no threes. Like, it doesn't make sense to me anymore that that's the way that the NBA has gone. But, hey, that's the reason I've stopped watching, and I think the reason a lot of the viewership has gone down.
Interesting. Do you have a MVP candidate for this playoffs so far, just holistically? A guy you say, hey, you looked at either East or West, he not necessarily the MVP of the season, but the MVP of the playoffs so far.
MVP of the playoffs so far. I got to go with Ant. The way that he leading his team, the way that his team is fighting, they struggling out there. I thought for a little minute that they were going to lose that game to Golden State. Ant came and dogged it, and he put in work, man. So I got to give it to Ant-Man out there.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you. It's crazy that Anthony Edwards, Bears Focus Plus podcast section, he came out and said that he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, but man, my goodness gracious.
But that's what happens. That's how it goes. You don't want it. You ain't going for it. You just trying to go out there and hoop. You trying to be the best hooper out there. You going to be the face. Because we see the work you putting in. And the results are coming along with it.
Anthony Edwards is collecting Infinity Stones, and it looks like he might get Steph Infinity Stone if Steph doesn't come out of the Goku chamber ready to go. So much still to be decided in that series, but that is a interesting series. If Golden State does push us past Minnesota, that next round heavyweight bout to get to the finals is going to be crazy no matter who shows up. But if Anthony Edwards pushes to the West Finals, he defeats whoever is on that other side, and he goes to the NBA Finals for the first time in his young NBA career.
I agree. I'm going to go ahead and give my finals prediction now. I see it being Minnesota and Cleveland in the finals this season. Minnesota and Cleveland, small market finals this season. Book it. All right, that's what it's going to be, and I think it's going to be electrifying. Probably one of the best finals we've seen in a long time.
Hey, have you ever said when you're going on vacation to Cleveland?
I don't want to disrespect Cleveland, but
I'm just asking a question. It was asked before.
Vacation to Cleveland? No.
So then what's so special about Cleveland then?
I never said anything was special about Cleveland.
I mean, you said they're going to the finals. I know.
Hey, they got a great team right now. Defensive Player of the Year, Donovan Mitchell still doing his thing. I think they still have a really good squad. Let's see if they can come back and beat these Pacers, though. But that's another story, man. So last one here, and then we going to get up out of here, man. WNBA season's coming up. Give me some quick expectations. You brought up Angel Reese in the sky earlier. Give me some quick hit expectations for the team.
I think with this new team led under Coach Marsh, it's going to be a hellacious team on defense. So if you're not defending, you're not necessarily going to get any tick. He's going to bring that, so that's going to help us out tremendously. Off-season signings, Ariel Atkins, Vandersloot coming back. You still got Angel Reese, one of the best young NBA rookies in the NBA. And then you got Cardosa, a stud at center, who's pretty formidable herself. You look at our team, you look at the new coaching staff, and you look at our market, and there's no reason why in a 44-game season that we don't win anywhere from 27 to 30 games. Now, we will have a tough opening act against the Indiana Fever, playing at Indiana. You know, you're talking about one of the two best markets opening up. The WNBA season started May 17th. That's going to be a great game anytime you get Reese and Clark going ahead against each other. But that whole Indiana Fever team as a whole is kind of crazy. It's going to be a great WNBA season. This is a good time to tune in and start watching these teams and these young ladies play. Again, the Sky will finish anywhere from 4th to 7th, and they will make the playoffs. All right. Again, the Chicago Sky will finish anywhere from 4 to 7, and they will make the playoffs. Their ability to make threes is going to be contingent on if they go further up the ranking or not. But this team is going to be ready to make a playoff push. So we're going to have a very fun time here in Chicago.
Man, I don't got too much to say about them. I think it's going to be a really good season.
I hear it.
But
don't say it.
I'm gonna say it.
No, I don't.
I need to see the improvement from Angel Reese, bro. We got to be real. We got to keep it funky, right?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about her smoking layups constantly. Still, I thought she was working with Lisa Leslie. I thought she was supposed to have been improving, but maybe all the things that people are saying is true. She's doing too much extra outside of basketball. But she's really not putting the work in.
Come on. Cut it out.
Hey, the proof is going to show itself once the season starts. If I'm wrong, I have no problem saying I'm wrong.
Well,
all right? I always eat it.
You might want to pause. You might want to walk back.
Pause that.
You might want to walk back that statement you just said, because in the Unrivaled League, she was the defensive player of the year in the Unrivaled League, locking up.
I brought up her offense, dog. Defense is a different story.
But defense wins championships. So what are we talking about here?
Last time the Sky won their championship.
Are you expecting Angel Parker? Right. Are you expecting her to be Candace Parker?
Hell no.
Okay, so if you're not expecting her to be
CP like that.
I'm not disrespecting CP. All I'm saying is that she has a role, she has a niche, she has what she's good at. She's a double-double machine. If you want her to change her package up, I think the best thing she's going to do, she needs to extend her range. She needs to be able to at least hit 1 to 2 threes a game. If she can consistently get that together, that's going to open her up, because that passing is there, that defense is there, and she has a great feel for the game of basketball. In terms of the layups, just get it up a little higher. She's been doing that. More will drop for her. Be positive. Come on, that's AR5. That's AR5.
I am positive. Very, very, very positive, right? I think that's constructive criticism, right? I mean, we watched the games. It's not like I'm just pulling this out of a hat, out of nowhere. This is something that is there that people see. That is a factual criticism that needs to be worked on her game. And if we come out in this season and, she out there balling, I'm going to be the first one to say, hey, I was wrong. Angel's dogging out there. So I hope that happens. I hope that she proves me wrong. I hope she does.
All right.
But man, thank y'all for listening today. Got into a lot of good topics, bringing in the NBA and WNBA. We're definitely going to do this more, bring in some more conversations about these different sports and things that's going on. Hey, we might even talk about the UFC next time. We ain't talk about the fights from last night. Some really good fights.
My goodness. Were they not?
But man, thank y'all again for listening. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment below on what you thought. Until next time, baby. Bears Focus Podcast.
Plus.